Do you feel like you've been stuck at the same running pace for what feels like forever? If you do, don't worry, because you're certainly not alone. Today what I'm going to do is tell you 5 reasons why this might be happening to you and how to address them. So hopefully you start getting faster at last. Okay, number one might sound counterintuitive, but sometimes the problem is as simple as that you're running too much. Because if you're doing too much running, you're not going to recover properly, and then when fatigue's high, the easy pace that you have will go down, the session quality will go down, meaning the adaptations we want you might not be getting, which just means you're just going to stall or you're just going to be up and down like this all the time. So if you're constantly feeling like you're really tired for your training, or you're always sore from your running, or you've got little niggles that are getting worse, it's a sign you're doing a bit too much. The number one cause of injury as well is from too much volume in too short space of time when it comes to running. So that's something to be aware of as well, because if you're injured, you're certainly not going to get faster because, well, you're injured. So yeah, it could just be as simple as running too much, or in the same breath, I say, not recovering properly, sleep being rubbish, diet being rubbish, all that sort of thing. Just making sure you are actually quite well recovered before your runs is always a good thing. Okay, problem number two is the exact opposite of problem number one, and that is you're not running enough. Now, a lot of people will say go to the gym and run, and really want to get their running better as good as their gym is. But what they'll do, they'll go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and they'll only run once or twice a week. And if that's the case, how can you expect your running to get on the same level when you're giving it half the time that you're giving to the other things that you're doing? And one of the things that getting faster is heavily reliant on is having a good aerobic adaptation already. So this is going to allow things like more oxygen to be delivered to the muscles. It's going to increase mitochondrial density, but you don't really need to know that. You need to get better aerobically so you can get faster. If you're not running enough, you're not going to be getting better aerobically, okay? Because if you only run once or twice a week, the rest of that week, you've got a nice big gap for you to essentially detrain almost, where you're not keeping on top of the adaptations you're creating from doing your running. So make sure if running is a priority, you're actually treating it as such, and you're running at least 3 or 4 times a week. Okay, so another problem could simply be that your runs are too short. Now, I know time's a big problem for a lot of people, but you're gonna have to bear with me and I'm gonna explain this, and hopefully you'll see why I'm saying this. So the most important part of your running program, and the part that most of the elites will spend most of their time doing, is their aerobic work. Okay, so obviously zone 2 is a bit of a cliche, but you wanna be under your first lactate threshold, which is usually around the zone 2 type heart rate. So you need to be spending a lot of time there. If you're just doing this for 20 to 25 minutes, you're not actually going to be spending enough time at this zone by the time you've got up there, or you've accounted for bits where you go a bit higher, a bit lower, whatever, to actually get the adaptations you want. And just by running longer as well means you're running economy, so your form and efficiency will be better because you've just got more repetition of the movement. Now, don't go crazy and go from 20 minutes to an hour across 1 week, because that's one of the ways you can get injured, just by increasing your volume like that. But try and gradually build up and get above these 20-25 minutes. Try and get up to the 45 hours if you can, because it is going to make a difference to your aerobic base, which is the most important thing. As I've said on this channel many times before, base comes first, everything else, all the fun stuff comes after that. But you need to make sure that you're not just going out for a 15-minute run at that aerobic zone 2 type zone, because it's not going to do anything for you. It needs to be longer. It needs to be at least half an hour, but preferably 40-45 minutes. Okay, quick interlude. For once, I haven't actually mentioned strength training in this video about running, but if you're always injured, one of the reasons might be that your joints and muscles are a bit weak and can't handle the volume, and strength training is a really good way around that. Now, not mentioning it as a point in this video, but if you do want a really quick week template for a strength training plan, which has got a bit of conditioning too, but it will work in terms of getting some decent strength in if you've never done it before. It can all be done in 30 minutes. I'm going to leave a QR code here and a link in the description if you want that. If you don't, I'm going to leave you to it and get back to the video and forget this happened. Problem 4 might sound obvious, but it's something that a lot of people actually don't do, because what tends to happen is that people will want to get faster by either running more or doing what they're doing and hoping it will make them quicker, without actually doing dedicated sessions towards speed and getting faster. Because if your speed's higher, then naturally you're going to be faster, right? So once you've got your aerobic base, you need to be doing some speed sessions. And a lot of people might even do these, but not actually push hard enough, because they need to be trying to get above what we call lactate threshold 2. And so as a general rule, it's probably going to be above 90% of your maximum heart rate. And you need to be performing at this intensity, because this is what's going to actually improve your pace. Obviously, we need the aerobic to be able to try and hold that pace and have the engine to sustain it. Lactate threshold, again, is going to help you sustain this for a longer period of time, but you still need the raw pace in the first place, and this is what your speed sessions will do. So this can look like interval sessions, or it can look like easy hard sessions. But either way, you need to make sure you're getting some of this top end speed in once you've built your base. The last problem I'm going to go through with you is that your easy runs are too hard or too fast. Now, a lot of research has shown that the most successful athletes will spend the majority of their time doing the easy aerobic base work and a small portion of it being really hard. What a lot of people do is that they spend all their time in the middle of this. So they spend all their time doing a moderately hard run. Now, I know sometimes the aerobic work can mean that you almost feel like you're walking. As time goes on, it won't be like that. But I admit initially it's going to be frustrating. But if you really, really want to get faster, that's one of the sacrifices you're going to have to make. How important is it to you, is my question on that one. Okay, a lot of people end up training too slow to get good speed, too fast to get good aerobic. And then they sort of end up in the middle, and don't get me wrong, it's not really your fault, it's just, it's quite hard to do, but it's something you've got to put a conscious effort into with your runs to try and make sure that you avoid, because you need to get the aerobic adaptation, as I mentioned earlier, and why it's important, but just make sure that you don't take it too hard and you end up going too long to the point where your heart rate just skyrockets, because that's not going to help anyone either. So if your running pace hasn't changed in months or even years, it might not necessarily be because you can't get faster, it might just be your structure needs a little bit of a tweak. So hopefully one of these problems that I mentioned today have identified with you, and you'll be like, oh, well, I'm doing that, I need to change it, and hopefully it's going to make some good differences for you going forwards. But that's the end of the video. I'm not going to take any more of your day up, so I will see you in the next one.